everyone, and welcome to the Postmodern Art Podcast, a podcast dedicated to giving artists who are wandering the world over the platform they deserve. I'm your host, Nathan Ragland, and for today's episode, we have a fantastic conversation that has been carved and modeled to be a fun time for anyone that does listen in, especially with the amazing guests we have for you today. Today's guest is Magpie, an animator, background artist, and Wittebane enthusiast whose stunning art and amazing versatility can be seen in all of his art, personally and professionally. Magpie is someone that I have been lucky to know for years, and especially seeing just how talented of an artist he is and how much he has been able to develop and just the incredible work that he puts out every single time, especially as of late. I knew I had to get him on this podcast to talk about just the incredible art that I can go on just gushing about his art, but that's what this episode's for. So I sincerely hope you enjoy today's conversation. If you enjoy our guest, please make sure you support him with the links down in the description below. If you enjoy the podcast, make sure you like, share, subscribe, or follow whatever audio streaming platform you prefer. Leave 5 stars wherever you can. You know I see that stuff, and you know it just genuinely makes my day. If you want to go a little further with that support, may I recommend you check out the merch shop in the link in the description below from fourthwall.com. We have some outstanding designs as done by some amazing artists, including the logo that you see for the podcast as done by Roshan Galaxy. Yeah, you can get that on a shirt, and you would look fantastic in that shirt today. And also, we're nearing the end of a Kickstarter for one of the former guests of the podcast, Min and Burrotello. Zipped up their Kickstarter. It's right there. It's right there, guys. So, please show them that love and support. Check the link in the description below to go to that Kickstarter and see if that's one that you should be supporting today. But now, without further ado, please enjoy the Postmodern Art Podcast. Alright, Magpie, before we really do get going, I must ask the icebreaker question of the podcast, if I may. Let's say you get to go to a desert island on your own accord. It's just you alone with your thoughts. You get to kick back, relax, breathe, get to truly enjoy yourself for a little bit. I shouldn't say deserted, probably more like a little personal B&B paradise away from society, secluded, not abandoned or not, deserted or whatnot.
All right.
To make sure you don't go completely insane on this island, you can bring one piece of media or one piece of art with you to help with whatever kind of headspace you want on this island. If given this opportunity, what would that one piece be?
Come on, the L House, of course.
I mean,
what did you think of?
I know that's the.
Did you see his background?
Look, I know that's the obvious answer, but I'd like to be potentially surprised. But honestly, the Owl House, that makes sense. I mean, I know
It's kind of like if people saw me with his background and were like, "Who's your favorite Owl House character?"
So, what is your favorite Owl House character? It's got to be Hootie, right?
You'd be surprised if somebody actually asked me that at one time, and I was just like,
"Really? Really?
Yeah, what do you think of that?"
I know we're going to talk about this probably a lot more later on the podcast, but I have to ask right off the bat, why is the Owl House like the instant go-to for you? What is it about Owl House that makes you want to grab that immediately on you for this, paradise away from society for a bit?
I need my Philip drawing reference.
You know what? Fair, valid, understandable.
Joking aside, though, I was just going for a lot of stuff in my life, when I started watching the show.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it. Well, I know what it is, but that really grabbed my attention.
You didn't know starting out, but then you got into it.
Okay, but it just I don't know. It made me wants to create stuff. Actually, what's funny is Philip was kind of what grabbed my attention first with the mask and stuff. Weirdly enough, Lumity was also what got me to stay over in the beginning, because I was kind of in a really bad relationship, and then I saw that Lumity was all positive and adorable, and I was kind of yeah, maybe I shouldn't want that for myself. And yeah, that's kind of what also helped me get out of that. And then yeah, so I continued to create, and then the more the show progressed, the more I saw that all the like the lore that was hidden and stuff, and that's what like really grabbed my attention.
And here you are right now with, you know, definitely investing a lot more in that lore than probably some people have. We'll definitely talk about that a lot more later on. But regardless, the Owl House, that is your answer. You're locking that in.
Yes.
Then if that's the case, I cannot think of a better way to start the Postmodern Art Podcast. Welcome, everyone. I am your host, Nathan Ragland. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, or follow whatever audio streaming platform you prefer. You would look fantastic in the merch that we have at the merch shop, fourthwall.com. Link to that is in the description below. And follow us on Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, and most social media platforms at Postmod Art Pod for future updates and guest announcements, including today's guest. They are an animator, background artist, and Wittebane enthusiast whose stunning art and amazing versatility can be seen in all of his art, both personally and professionally. Welcome to the podcast, Magpie!
Hi.
How are you doing today, Magpie?
I'm good, and you?
I'm doing fantastic now that I'm getting the opportunity to sit down and do this with you. For those that remember or whatnot, you and I, like, we've chatted for ages. Like I've been keeping a good eye on the incredible work you've been doing on for a while, and it's so glad to give you an opportunity to let that work shine, because you've sincerely done some fantastic work, and you deserve to be on here as much as anyone else has been on this podcast before. Like, sincerely.
Oh, thank you. It's been like what, 5 years I think now, something like that.
It's been I want to say since the last time we really chatted, it's been at least like 4 years or whatnot, because something like that. Like, you were.
I think the Owl House has been at least 3 years, and it's probably been like 2 years before that, so it's probably been like 5 now.
Yeah, something along the lines of that. Either way, like, regardless, I'm so glad to get you on here to talk about, obviously, the things that you love and the things that you're putting out there. But before we talk about the stuff you're doing nowadays, I want to go back just a little bit, and I want to learn more or less the origin story of Magpie. What got you interested in art and animation and stuff in the first place?
You're gonna find that answer kind of funny, but like, so when I was little, I was always into like Disney villains the most. And like, I wanted to like learn how to draw in like the style of like, you know, the shows that I was watching, so I could like give them like nicer endings. And that was literally my thing since I was like super little, and I was like draw villains and all the time and like write stories about them and stuff, and that's kind of what got me into it.
You, a fan of Disney villains? No. I mean, it's not like your background is like basically a collection of murals of one of the most recent and most intriguing Disney villains on TV. I mean,
I think when I was little, it was mostly like Hades and Captain Hook. Who were like the two that I was like really into.
Those two are extremely valid, because I mean, like, especially with Hades, like if you look at the classic, like, you know, what was it, Greek text or whatnot, like, it's a lot more of a tragic hero or a tragic, you know, god than like what was portrayed in the Disney film, you know?
Yeah.
No, that's honestly extremely valid. I can understand where that was like the good, more or less like launching point or whatnot, especially when it comes to like Disney, because the way that they have always like told about their villains or whatnot, there's always so interesting, but there's always so much more that could be interesting about them.
Yeah, there's always like stuff, but you know, they kind of hint at it, but not quite.
Exactly. So I'm curious if that was more or less the start, or less the launching point. When did it go from just like a general love and appreciation for, you know, Disney and its villains and such, to a passion and wanting to make it your career? When did you know that you wanted to be a part of like animation as a way of life?
I don't know, it kind of came naturally, I guess. Like, I've always been drawing like all the time. I think I started posting art online when I was like 13 or something, and it was like fan art of the Penguin from Batman. And I made other artists online around that time, I guess. Like, it was like obviously not that many, because like the internet wasn't what it is now, but
right.
I just used to share my art, and like people like finding the same love for these characters that I had and stuff. And I don't know, then I was drawing so much all the time that I just couldn't really see anything else except doing art. Like, it just seemed like the thing to do. And then, like, people started getting interested in, like, commissioning me and stuff, and I guess it's just kind of went from there.
I imagine it's not only just, like, the commissioning, but I imagine around that time was also when you started, like, getting creative with, like, your own characters and your own OCs and all that kind of stuff. Like, was there
I always had...
Oh, sorry, go on.
Even when I was like, I think in like primary school and stuff, I used to have like little characters, and I used to write. I mean, obviously, it was not as good as what it is now, but like I used to create my own like OCs and stories and stuff, and yeah.
What I imagine is, given the love for the villains or whatnot, were the OCs always like people that were trying to like help the villain like achieve their goal or whatnot? Like, what were some of the OCs you were developing early on?
I'm trying to remember like the old ones. Like
Okay.
I'm talking about like when I was like 10 or something. So like my memory is not like quite there yet. But
I understand if it's hard to get that far back.
I think there were like two like types of like dinosaurs or something, and like
Aww.
there was some kind of war going on between the two. I can't remember why, but like they were supposed to like make peace at the end, and like their two lands would be united or something like that. It was something I kind of like when villains like not necessarily like redeem, but like when they like kind of learn from their ways.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. So my stories was always like a reoccurring theme, I guess, or like somebody would come in and kind of like help them change their ways in some, yeah.
If nothing else, if not redeemed, at least vindicated. Like, you know, hey, their story is not just I am evil, I'm gonna do evil stuff. Is, oh, there's a reason why you're doing this, and you think you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I really don't like one-dimensional characters when it's just like. I'm saying that, but then the Joker is also a good villain, but the Joker is kind of its own thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's very like different, but I kind of like when like villains do something and like because they have their own reasons, you know, even if the reasons aren't obviously like something you could like agree with. It's just it's more interesting, I think, from a storytelling point of view when you can see like how they got there, because you know it's the story.
Also, I'm gonna say I don't think I would ever call Joker one-dimensional, given like how complex like his
no,
evilness goes.
No, absolutely not. It's no. Okay, I didn't mean that way. I meant like that he's evil, but we don't know why.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just evil. Yeah. So he's kind of like his own thing where. Like, I think it's the one character where I would prefer if he didn't have a backstory, because it makes it better in his case, I think.
Yeah, because the time they give him a backstory, it was convoluted, and people did not enjoy it, at least when it came to the comics. I know the Joker movie, at least the first one, people liked.
I think if you're talking about the Killing Joke, it's more of a, well, I think it's implied in the comic that, like, even the story that was told in there could have not be true, because he was saying, oh, my story went one way or another way, and so it like this whole thing could have been him just making something up, so we don't like know for sure if it was actually his lore or not.
That is true. That is very true. I always love like the complexity when it comes to the villains, just in general, more than anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we're definitely going to be talking about how you certainly love that, given the army of plushies that are surrounding you. One of the things that I love and appreciate about you and your art in general is not just like the characters you put forth, but like the backgrounds that you invest so much time in or whatnot. You put out such incredible stuff. What is it about backgrounds for you that you just invest so much time in? Like what is it that you love and appreciate that's something you invest so much in?
What's funny is that I used to hate drawing backgrounds because I thought they were really difficult.
I bet.
And then, yeah, and then at some point, I can't remember how old I was, but maybe like 19, 20, something like that. I realized that my backgrounds looked like crap, and I was just like, okay, I need to learn to do that because I want to make comics and stuff, and so I just have to learn. And so I started drawing background like obsessively every day until I started like getting better at them. And then when I started like being proud of the ones that I was making, it kind of like made me happy. And then I was like, oh, I could like add. I like to think about like, let's say if a character goes in a room and to imagine what they do in that room, and then you can start to think about all the little objects that like would go in there that would show like her personality and all of that, and I kind of like that.
Yeah,
because it helps the story building, and you can hide things in the background and.
Yeah, something to where it makes it easier to say more, like literally say the silent part out loud, because it's right there and it's very telling especially whenever you see it and find it. And I gotta say, like, the backgrounds that you've been able to do, that was also partially a way of getting you in the door for some incredible opportunities working on backgrounds and animation stuff when it comes to, like, Lackadaisy, Mystery Skull, stuff for Spindle Horse Tunes or whatnot. Like, it's gotta be really interesting, especially given all these different worlds or whatnot. Like, it has to be really cool to get a chance to even play in the little sandbox for a little bit and toy around and really express, like, really bring the world alive with these backgrounds and stuff. Is there, out of any of the projects that you've worked on professionally, I should say, is there any background that sticks out in your mind as the one that you're proudest of? Like, you got a chance to actually bring that to life?
You mean on my own projects or like on other ones?
On others' projects.
I think it was probably on like a Daisy. I made like a background with it was a scene with Mordecai when he's like in there's like all these like metal beams sticking out, and just casting all the shadows and all of it was like so intricate. And when I look back at that, I'm kind of like really happy to see like that I managed to make it work, because it was quite difficult to figure out where all of his shadows had to go. But yeah.
I mean, no, that's honestly extremely valid, especially with, again, like I said, the metal beams and all the different, like, you know, ideas when it comes to, like, moonlight and all that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, I can easily understand, especially with how gorgeous Lackadaisy just is or whatnot. The fact that you got to help provide that gorgeousness with that scene or whatnot, like, magnifique, if I do say so myself.
Thank you.
It does also leave me curious as well, like, out of the projects that you've been able to work on helping out other people or whatnot, was there a personal favorite, like, just because of the experience that you got to have working on other people's stuff?
I'd say probably like a Daisy.
Yep, honestly valid. given that
I feel
world.
like just like everyone was just really creative, and I feel like everyone was just so nice, and just I don't know, like the vibe in the team was really good.
Absolutely. I can only imagine. It is. I've wanted so badly to talk to so many people that have worked on that project or whatnot, and I've gotten a chance to talk to a couple here and there or whatnot. But also, like, the instant I can get a chance to talk to, obviously, Tracy, the creator of Lackadaisy or whatnot, like, I just want to pick at their brains so badly with how they even came up with this world in the first place, let alone provide an opportunity for other people to play in that world a little bit, you know?
I mean, you just reach out. You never know, you know.
I have tried before, and I'm always trying. I'll put it like that. I'm never gonna not try. I understand. I also understand they're very busy as well. They're working on getting the series like more prominently put out there and such. So I get why I don't get an immediate response.
Oh, that's all right.
But I imagine as well, working with some of these other ones, there's also another person that I distinctly remember you getting an opportunity to work with, and it's honestly really interesting the fact that you got to work with them. You got a chance to work with a wonderful YouTuber by the name of H2O Delirious.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I wonder, how exactly did that opportunity even come to you in the first place?
You know what? I can't even remember.
Oh, you don't remember?
Because that was like years ago.
Well, I was gonna say I remember. That's the thing. I remember because I saw a post of H2O Delirious asking for like animators or like illustrators or something along the lines of that, and I had messaged you. I sent the thing to you like through Discord or whatnot, and you applied. And I remember the next day you were like, "Yep, so I'm the projects manager for H2O Delirious."
Oh my gosh, that was you! I could not remember how it started, because that was like. Even like I think I was still like working on like fan comics and stuff at the time. Yeah. Like it was crazy.
No, as well as I remember, that's part of the reason why I was being so cheeky. But like, I wonder how you got that opportunity, because I remember at least telling you about it or whatnot. But then like you applied for it thinking you were just gonna be like an animator or whatnot, and it's like, yeah, no, you're in charge of like all the projects that we do here, and you're like, huh?
Yeah, that was kind of crazy how it happened, honestly. Like, it's very, like, on and off. Like, sometimes he has, like, illustrations and stuff for things that he wants to do, and sometimes, like, not. Like, there's a lot. I think I can talk about that, because he's already posted the first one. But I've been doing a lot of lo-fi animations for his lo-fi channel. So, like, there's only one that's been posted so far. But I've made, like, quite a few of them. So it's just, like, loops of his little, like, raccoon character.
Right.
And it's, like, animation loops with, like, pretty sceneries and stuff like that. And, I've been doing, like, quite a few of them. And that actually really helped to, like, fund my album project. So I'm really grateful for it.
There you go. No, I was going to say, I saw the lo-fi animation that you did or whatnot. And, like, I love, obviously, like, because it's lo-fi animation. It's not meant to be complex or whatnot. It's very simple, but it works so well, especially with the music. It's very soothing. It's very simple. And I can only imagine, like, how how much fun it was to like actually bring that, or imagine how cool it was to bring that to life, as well as, like you said, it's very rewarding the fact that it helped fund a lot of the big project we're about to talk about.
Yeah, and there's actually the person who's making the lo-fi music for him. We like stayed in touch on Discord, and he's making lo-fi versions of some of the tracks for Carved on Model right now. So that's actually. But I might end up making a lo-fi video at some point with like a little animation loop and stuff, you know. And
oh, that's cool. I can't wait to certainly see more, because the one that is posted up there right now or whatnot, again, it's very sweet. It's very calming. I can't wait to see how much more you get a chance to work with that. But obviously, at this point, I've been dancing around the big thing that you are known for, at least these days or whatnot. So let's take all the pleasantries away. Let's actually get to the meat and bones of this conversation. I want to talk about Wittebane. I want to talk about your obsession with this character and how much you've invested in this character. So obviously we talked about in the icebreaker question or whatnot, like how much Owl House like really meant to you. So I'm curious, what exactly does Philip Wittebane, like how much does he, what is it about him that you instantly like grasped onto him and wanted to explore more of his story?
So it's kind of evolved. Like I'm trying to think if I should like give like an intellectual response to it, or like an honest response to it.
Why not both? Why not both?
Okay, so I'm gonna be very honest with you, but like when I saw the mask and heard the voice, the reason I got into it is because I thought it was really hot.
You know what? I'm not.
Listen, the voice really like cold to me. I don't know.
You are valid in that response. I understand where you were coming from.
I never thought it would go that far though, because I remember a tweet that will haunt me forever. That it was the first time when we saw a peek at his hair, and it was like you know, there wasn't the face reveal yet, so you just saw his hair, and it was like completely gray. He didn't have stripes at the time,
right?
And I made a tweet that was something like, "Oh, I hope, like, you know, I was worried, but he was gonna look really ugly when he took off his mask." Because listen, I don't know why, but I expected him to look kind of like Gandalf or something underneath, and I was just.
Sorry, time off. What? Gandalf is not ugly.
Listen, I was literally praying for him to never take it off, and I was just like kind of ready to like for his face reveal to kill the character for me, and he did the exact opposite.
No, it's literally just like the meme of like, just imagine him without his mask. The mask goes away. Oh no, he's hot.
I think this tweet is like gonna haunt me forever, because just the fact I said that, it's just.
Again, Dana Terrence saw that exact tweet and is just like, fucking bet. Let's change this.
And it was like the tweet was like a response to somebody who made a fan art, but I think she responded to it fan art, and it was like a meme of like he had a mask on, but like his long hair was visible, and he was like in the water and like coming out of the water, kind of like a siren or something. And then the water, like there was a trail, and it was supposed to be like beautiful hair or whatever. And I commented something like, "I bet he's gonna look so ugly under his."
And boy, were you wrong, huh?
I feel so bad for commenting that.
So obviously we see the spark, the first inspiration of it, but I imagine especially as the series progressed and we start peeking more and more at the character or whatnot, like I can only imagine how much more invested you got in the character with how much more we were getting.
Okay, listen, I think Hollow Mind is what really got me into the character, like to that degree, because I saw all the little portraits in the background, and it was like, oh, there's a lot of lore behind that character.
Yep.
And also Elsewhere and Elsewhere, of course, because then you see him as Philip then.
Yep.
Oh shit, my camera. There we go. So I could see that there was something there, and I started like making theories and stuff, and I was like really interested to know what was. I think my theory was really off at the beginning. I can't remember exactly what my theory was, but it was just really not what it ended up being. And yeah, then like I saw that in Kingstein there was I wasn't sure what was gonna happen at that point, because like we weren't sure if he died or not, because like of the ending of the collector, and I was like, I really hope that's not the ending, because that was so abrupt.
Right.
And then there was like this long kind of like wait time between that episode and season 3.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of gave me so much room to like make up theories and like studies of portraits and all of that. And because there was like such a long time without a new episode, I kind of like continued to I don't know, I got really invested in the lore and my own theories and making stuff, and that kind of how it continued. And then I saw like how the show ended, obviously, and I was like, we didn't really get any answers. And that's when I got so frustrated, and I was kind of like, okay, if the show's not gonna give it to us, then I'm gonna do it myself.
Look, I for one blame Disney because if given the opportunity, Dana would have given us so much juicy lore and backstory. Like, let's be honest with ourselves here. But, like I agree. It's one of those, especially with what we were given or whatnot. There was so much more they could have played with. There was so much more they could have presented to us. There's so much more that they could have tinkered with. So I'm so glad that gave you more or less a spark to go down this rabbit hole of just incredible animations and projects one after another. Like, when did you know for sure that, like, you know what, I don't care what anyone else is doing, I want to make animation of this character? Like, when was like the first moment of being like, I've got to do this?
Um, I think it was after King's died, because I think knowing there were only going to be 3 episodes after that,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like knew in my head that there wasn't going to be anything else. Like I know there were people telling me like, oh, but they're gonna do more, but like I could kind of tell. I don't know why. I just had this intuition, and I think I made a little like lo-fi. Well, it was like a lo-fi animation. It was like a music loop with like little loops of like, I think you remember that video. And it was like him when he was little, and then like slightly older and slightly older.
Yep.
And at the time, yeah, and at the time we didn't have much, and the portraits were like super pixelated and Hollow Mind and all of that. So it was and obviously my animation skills weren't like what they are now, so it was also not my best. But it kind of started, and I saw people really like that video. And then when Thanks to Them happened, and I saw when Masha was like telling the story of the Wittebane story, like that little like 30 seconds clip, and I think that's what made me think, okay, this is all we're gonna get, so I'm gonna do it now. And I started animating over that little audio clip, and then Matthew Reese actually commented on it, which was like my biggest, like, it made me so freaking happy. Because he didn't even really like interact with the Owl House fandom at all on Twitter, so I was really not expecting him to say anything. And other like people from the crew like commented or like retweeted it, so that was like, I don't know. I just thought it was a real like interest, and like people like were having the same interest as I did about the character, and like that made me really happy. I think I would have done it either way, even if the videos like didn't get a lot of attention, because I still wanted to tell that story of that character out there. So I would do it, even if honestly, even if I got like 1,000 views, I would still like be making those videos. Because there would still be like at least a couple of people who care, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, like at the end of the day, like you were the one that cared the most when it came to this kind of stuff, because it was a unique character, a unique dynamic that you want to just explore more of, and so I can understand that drive of really like. It's one thing to obviously envision it in your head, but it's another thing, especially when you have the skills that you do, to bring it to life in one form or fashion.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is that like what made me want to do it even more is when I would see people like hate on him online, which is like, listen, like, because it's like I felt like some people just like didn't like realize what like Hollow Mind was saying to us about the story, and it's just like some people just really didn't see like that there was more depth to this, and it was driving me crazy. And I was just like, I really want other people to see what I see in this character, and that's really like what drove me to make this. Like, I wanted to put the information out there like as clearly as I could for everybody. And there was something kind of like incredible that happened too. Is at some point I decided to make HD remasters of all the portraits.
Right.
So I took the screenshots and I like kind of zoomed in and I tried my best to clean them up, like as you know, to make them in HD, and then I posted them. And then Rebecca Rose, who was, I think she was the production manager, or assistant production manager, or something like that, on the show at the time. And 3 days later, she posted the real ones, all in HD. And yeah, and when I asked, she confirmed that like it was because she saw mines, and she like ended up posting the real ones.
Aww.
So, but maybe. Yeah, that was probably like my proudest thing that I've ever made, I think, because the fact that like it got like Disney to release like canon material was kind of crazy to me.
That is insane more than anything else. The fact that your art was so good that people on the production team was like, we really should let people see it because this stuff is like good and like we know how good it is. Um, it's
It just makes me
justification.
really happy to like that like I made something that kind of made them see that people cared about Philip and like to the point that we wanted this and yeah.
I mean, if Disney didn't, see it, you were certainly making people see it, especially with, like I said, not just like the portraits or whatnot, but some of the animations and stuff that you did. I personally remember when you dropped the animation short for Morning Innocence or
Oh
whatnot.
yeah.
I cannot tell you how much I loved and I was gutted when I saw that animation when it dropped. Like sincerely, the work that you put on that and like really presenting it. Like what was like I'm gonna be sounding like a broken record here, but like what was the spark? What was the inspiration for like really wanting to present that aspect of the story, the young innocent dynamic of the brothers?
So I want to like continue making the series to the point where I animate like every single portrait.
Right.
So it's gonna take years probably, but I'm still listen. I'm a dedicated guy.
I could tell.
But like so I wanted like to have the little like frog rock thing. It's kind of an idea that I had before, but I want to like slightly come back in the next episode for something. And so I wanted to have a mini episode that would like introduce that. And then I wanted to kind of find something, a way that was original to show some of the aspects of the character that would also be there later. So kind of like how he's not really like grieving like in a healthy way,
Mm-hmm.
like obviously in the show. And I kind of wanted to bring that back when he was little as well, where he just couldn't really accept that the frog died, and then Caleb gave him a replacement for it in a way with the little frog rock.
Right.
And that was kind of like a metaphor between like how he's replacing Caleb with the Grimwalkers after that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also like wanted to bring something about the fact that there are a lot of hints in the show that he's left-handed, or that at least he was born left-handed, and then he became he could use both hands. Because I think back then they were like really not okay with that. It was supposed to be like the hand of the devil or something like that.
Right.
And so when in thanks to the Masha was saying that they were outcast in Gracefield, that was definitely something that I think I felt like I could use for storytelling. And so there was like the little scene about how like he was implied that like someone hit like his wrist with like a ruler or something to like punish him for writing with his left hand.
Right.
So I kind of wanted to start with that and kind of like hint at it. Like I didn't want it to be like super in your face. I felt like if it was treated like it was quote unquote normal, it would like be more effective in a way than if you had like someone actually, if you had like a violent scene of that. Because I feel like the fact that it like felt normalized for them kind of hits harder in a way.
Yeah.
And then when he like makes the links and it says like, "Did God punish me for using my bad hand?" It was kind of like a link between like the fact that back then they kind of believe that like you were born in sin, I guess, also. And so there's like that idea that like of being afraid that but you have to do good in the name of like religion, I guess, too, like kind of like be worthy of like being loved by like God and all of that. Right. So that was like really like heavy themes that I wanted to bring into this. And if like I also went with the headcanon that their uncle was the one who had their parents falsely accused of witchcraft, and so both him and Caleb would be living in this constant fear of like being accused themselves, especially if like they're being seen as like strange or outcast by the villagers. And so I think they would want to try even harder to kind of like prove themselves, so they can like keep themselves safe.
Absolutely. I mean, it's very smart how you went forward and like really expanded on like subtle details like that or whatnot. It leaves me curious, how much like research did you have to do going into this stuff? Like, how much did you research into like old 1600s like practices and all that kind of stuff, like preparing for this kind of thing? Because that's not something you just easily just like pick up or whatnot. That's something that like I imagine people that are really invested in this kind of stuff take the time to look up, like, okay, so what exactly were like practices, or like how exactly would they persecute and da 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 da.
I wouldn't, I don't know actually, because I would Google stuff around the show, so it
Okay.
wasn't like one. So I had already looked up a bunch of things, and I kind of like remembered some of the things. But then also like some of the show is inaccurate with like history, and I
Right,
know a lot of
right.
fans are frustrated with that. But like for example, the code is like very inaccurate for the time period, and so I wasn't really sure exactly where the balance would be, because I still wanted to keep something that was felt like it was from the show.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of went for the balance that like there's some inspiration from like stuff that happened back then, but also it's still like based in fiction, because that's what the show seemed to have gone with. So I've kind of like went with that.
Yeah, you're trying to at least keep as close to the show as accurate as it was, while also obviously
Yeah.
expanding more on stuff that you think the show should have talked about. Extremely valid.
Yeah, I feel like it might have been a bit too heavy for Disney to like speak about things like that, especially with like the being left-handed and all of that. Because like I still had like people nowadays who like still told me, oh yeah, my parents like used to do that to me when I was little as well, where like they were being forced to write with their right hand and stuff like that. And it's kind of crazy to me to think that like this still happens now.
yeah,
Um, but like I kind of like adding things into the Philip animation where people kind of like can relate to it as well. Um, like I've seen like some comments on the new video of the album that I made, where some people said they could relate to like the feeling of like a family member who left,
yeah.
and they felt like, or like some, or even like a friend who like they saw like slowly like drifting away because they were like going to a different friend group or something like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, obviously like there's a lot of like bad things that Philip has done in the show, and like I'm not excusing any of that, but like
Obviously.
I kind of like the idea that there's also aspects of his character that people can relate to, because it kind of makes him more human in the way that, he's still a human, so it feels like he's more fleshed out. If like you can still see, it makes him feel more like real, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I was gonna say, especially when it comes to like some of those practices that you were talking about, like you had said, some people are still like practicing that stuff like these days, whether or not they realize it in some aspect or another. Like for example, it just reminds me of this little factoid that I learned. I think it was either from around this time or maybe like Victorian England or whatnot. Do you know why they tell someone bless you whenever they sneeze?
No.
It's because back, like I say, around this time, around like Victorian England or whatnot, they believed that whenever you sneezed, a part of your soul left your body, so they blessed it in order for it to ascend to heaven.
Wow, I was actually like gonna say that like that was what I wondered if that was what it was, but like that's so strange.
It's interesting, but like here it is nowadays. It's just like common courtesy, just to, someone sneezing, just go bless you and all that stuff. So
It's funny because like I'm pretty sure like most people don't know why they're doing it, but like the tradition still lives on in a way.
exactly, exactly. And I imagine obviously when it comes to like the like you are already doing a really good job like beforehand with like expanding on this world, especially with these shorts. But then you just took it to a whole nother level with this big project that you just recently released. This incredible collaborative album called Carved and Modeled. Now, I'm genuinely curious what inspired you to even get started on this? Because it's one thing to provide animation to expanding on the world. It's another thing to provide it in such a very incredible interactive way through like storytelling, visuals, music. Like, what inspired you to go forth and make a collaborative album of the Wittebane story?
So when I started, it wasn't going to be as big as it is now. I think originally I had like 14 songs in mind,
Okay.
and I was gonna make like one or two images per song. So obviously it was definitely not what it is now. But I wanted. I always loved like musicals, and I felt like people can relate to songs more. And I wanted kind of to give like the fandom something that they can use to make, let's say, AMVs or something like of their own little animatics, or like I just like the idea that people can make their own headcanons to like keep the fandom alive as well. So yeah, and then I just kept having new ideas and stuff. Originally, I was gonna remove a lot of the earlier stuff in the album because I wanted I thought I would be finishing the second animation,
Okay.
like the one I'm working on right now, before the album dropped. But then I kept like adding more stuff to that as well. So it's definitely gonna be a while until that one is finished. But
Right.
so I didn't want. I felt like it would be repetitive originally to like have all of that and then have it also in the album. And so then I realized that the album needed those parts now because the animation was definitely not going to be there before, and it also would make more sense if everything was, you know, in the one story. So I added a lot of songs, and then I added some of the scenes that were going to be in the next animation. Um, and then there was like the idea of making one cohesive musical at some point, but it would be so much work to dump onto like I guess maybe like a handful, like 2-3 people
Right.
for like the instrumental, and then like the vocals would like it would be a lot to like, you know, because there are like 20 songs in total.
Oh yeah.
And then I thought like, well, if like all the songs are like in a different style and stuff, and maybe people would be more likely to like vibe with at least one of them. So let's say if someone hates musicals, then maybe they'll get attached to another song that feels less like a musical. Or if someone really likes rock, they could have one song that has rock in it. And like I was trying to like reach as many people as possible because I really wanted like people to be invested in that story, I guess. And so that's kind of like how it happened.
I mean, honestly, like seeing how this thing, even then, considering from the start you only wanted like 14 songs, that's still a task on its own. Like, it's not like people can just randomly drum up, but it's not like people can literally drum up like 14 songs in one go. That's still a lot of time and dedication to it. And then the fact that it just grew and grew and grew more to involve like more incredible talented people such as, you know, our, you know, friends of the podcast Ash Bricky and Wiley Coyote, as well as incredible people such as Michael Kovacs, Tom Schalk, Elsie Lovelock, full metal pianists, and like all sorts of other like incredible talents and such, getting them involved. Like it I at what point did you realize this was going from like a fun little thing to, oh my god, I think I'm in over my head with how big this project is getting?
It's funny because I never really reached that point. Like,
Okay.
to me, it's still like a fun little project. Like, it's really bizarre because it's like I already draw Philip stuff like almost every day at this point for like
Okay,
years
valid.
because of all the animations. So for me, it's just another day, and it's funny because like some people on the team would like sometimes tell me like, you realize that you're directing like an entire musical, and I was just like, oh yeah, I guess so. Like,
I mean, especially with how the album like progressed or whatnot, and the way that like you presented or whatnot, like legitimately, if you took all of the this is gonna sound sacrilegious, obviously, but if you took all the Wittebane like imagery out of this or whatnot, and you just put this onto the world like blank, I'm pretty sure there are some people that would be convinced that this is just like some off-Broadway musical that just never got produced or whatnot. Like with just how
oh,
incredible,
thank you.
like just with how incredible the music that you compose, as well as like obviously the collaborations with so many of these incredible like talented artists and such, like really telling a really good story. Like I can tell that love for musicals that you had talked about or whatnot, like definitely with each and every single song. And honestly, like if you ever got the opportunity to expand more on it and somehow got Disney's blessing to like include like the Wittebane, you know, characters and such into it, I could legitimately see this being a full-on musical, like with parts in between songs that are like, you know, dramatic acting and such. Like we're not gonna go full Les Mis and make everything singing or whatnot, but like the way that you have it right now is really like it's just literally just a little bit away from being a full-on musical.
Yeah, another reason too is because like with musicals you can have characters singing about their thoughts,
Yeah.
which you wouldn't really have about a scene. I'm thinking about the Grim Walkers specifically song right now, where like there are so many complex thoughts that I think
Oh, that's not good.
with musicals you can tell you can talk about the thoughts that
Yep.
going through the characters' minds that wouldn't really like work in an animated sort of way. So I can't really see Philip like talking openly about some of the stuff that I put in the musical. Like I'm speaking of the Grimwalkers song specifically,
Right.
because I really cannot think of any way this would come up in the show in like a quote unquote canon like ish sort of way. And that's one of like my favorite songs like to write, I think, because there are so many complex thoughts that would go into it. like I don't think that he really saw the Grimwalkers as their own person. I
Hmm.
think he was kind of trying to like convince himself that because they were Caleb clones, that if one of them, let's say, um didn't betray him, that it would kind of be proof that Caleb had it in him to stay. And so it would kind of be proving himself that Caleb was actually under a spell.
Right.
And then I also wrote like this whole like lore document and stuff, but I think that there's also when think like Philip was experimenting with like how old the Greymwalkers would be when they come out of the ground. Um, I thought like maybe also because I think Dana said something about how they would be easier to control if they were younger, and
Hmm.
so he started making them younger. And then I started thinking about that, and I thought, what if he thought that he made them younger also because at that point Caleb hadn't met Evelyn yet.
Right.
So maybe he felt like they wouldn't be quote unquote corrupted at the time if they were, coming out before Caleb met Evelyn in his life, I guess. And so that he would be kind of like a blank state of like he could prove himself that Caleb, would have like been like stayed with him and that it was all Evelyn's influence and all of that. And then back then they also didn't have photographs.
Right.
And so I because like Philip could draw, but like there's also so much you can do with that, I guess. And
Hmm.
so uh I kind of thought about that because some people like if you have like somebody that you knew who passed away and you don't have any photos, it's like hard to remember exactly what their face looks like. And there was even in the show Centaur World, there was something about how like the horse character has a whole song about forgetting Ryder's face, and
Right.
like she was really like upset by it, and that's kind of like the song that inspired me for Grimwalkers actually, because I felt like at the time he would be worried that like Caleb's remains would decay, and then he would like forget like what his face looked like.
Right.
And I thought, what if like that's how the Grimwalkers originally started to be kind of like a living portrait of Caleb, and then it kind of evolved into like something else, and like maybe at first he tried to treat them more like they were Caleb, and
Hmm.
then it kind of like was just a cycle and they were way more like disposable to him. And like I mean there's just so much complexity that goes into this, and
Th-
like I kind of wanted the songs to be like a way for us to hear what's going on in his mind because he wouldn't say it out loud. So
hmm.
I feel like the musical is also like something that's nice to have on top of the animations because I can only show so much without making him break character in the animations.
Right, absolutely. I mean, I honestly think that was a really good call on your end. Like it said, like just think of all the different elements to express more without obviously breaking what we know about Philip and Caleb and all the characters and stuff like that. Which, by the way, I gotta say, I'm very impressed with you more than anything else because you made me find a way to hate Caleb with a burning passion thanks to your thanks to your
Listen,
animation touch.
okay, I don't hate Caleb, and I don't think people should hate Caleb. I'm just gonna
Right,
put that out there because like I've seen some of his reactions. I think Caleb like obviously what he did wasn't cool. And the thing is that I think he was so young himself at the time as well. I imagine
right,
he was around like maybe 18 when he left, but because he grew up without like being able to be a child himself, he kind of needed a break. And I wanted this to be kind of a parallel with when like Luce left and that for the demon realm, and then she was afraid of like facing her mom. So I think it's kind of like a bit of like a cowardice thing in a way where he was afraid that if he came back he would have to face like to see his brother and like the damage that he caused. And so I think he kind of tried to tell himself everything is gonna be okay. Like, maybe that's a push that he needed, and he's gonna be able to make his own life and have his own family and stuff. And then he told himself that if he came back, he would be disturbing that maybe. And that's kind of what I tried to do with like the songs The Other Side. It's like a
right.
parallel to Left Behind, where you can see. I wanted like the two songs to be tonally completely different
Hmm.
because I felt like he would show like how differently the two of them think, and like the fact that Caleb is so out of touch with how Philip feels. So that I think he knew that like he still like needed him in a way, but I think he like didn't quite grasp like the extent of it as well.
Right.
Um Caleb is more like, I hope everything's okay, and I'd be so happy if you had your own family, and like he's just trying his best to be optimistic about everything, and he still like cares deeply about his brother, and he really wants to like write him a letter, but he just can't find the words to like write something that would like be good enough, I guess.
Right,
And
right.
then in the meantime, Philip is just like falling into despair, I guess, and he's just, the more he doesn't hear back, the more he's like convincing himself that Evelyn did all of this, because he refuses to believe that like his only family would have done that to him.
No,
And then when we see in the portrait, when we see Philip meeting Caleb again, Caleb just hugs him and he looks so happy. And it kind of like implies to me that he never apologized, that he was just like, "Oh, I'm so happy to see you back." And he tried to kind of like sweep everything under the rug, I guess.
mm-hmm.
And just like kind of like pick up where they left off, because he didn't know what Philip went through to find him, and that he spent years like struggling, because obviously Caleb would have a very different experience in the demon realm as well, because Caleb would have Evelyn to like guide him,
Right.
and like if he got sick from the food, she would be there to heal him or something, or like he would have a home and he would have protection and someone to explain him how everything works and all of that. When the thing is that Philip also spent so much time alone in like the human realm with the Puritans and all of that, that they would have made him like put the fear of God into him and like told him all about witchcraft and all of that. So
Right.
they would have like brainwashed him even harder than when Caleb wasn't there. So when he got to the demon realm, it probably felt like he was in like actual hell to him or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Um, so I think at that point there was no like, he wasn't really going to have a good time there. And especially without a guide, he pretty much like lived in like a cave or something, this whole time, like struggling, and then he got cursed, and all of that stuff happened. So when he met Caleb again, he was definitely not gonna be in a good headspace to like have, the kind of like reunion that Caleb was hoping for, I guess. So there was definitely a disconnect between like how the two like, thought.
Yeah.
And I think that Caleb just like acting all happy kind of like it made Philip think even more that he was under a spell or something, because he was like, there's no way my brother would just like not like realize what happened there, and like see him like obviously looking rough and all of that, and he just was just happy to see him again, like, oh, come just like join my family for dinner or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing that he has a new family and all of that, I think he would just be, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can easily understand why Philip was just broken more than anything else. At the end of the day, like this entire situation, I was obviously being like a little overdramatic and hyperbolic when I was saying that you made me hate Caleb. But also at the same time, I'm thinking to myself like, all you had to do, Caleb, was just find like a way to just get back to the human world, like just for a day, just to because like just to confirm with your brother. But obviously, it's a lot more complicated. That there's a lot more complicated emotions, especially with how distant the two became, both figuratively and literally, with the different realms and such. Like, obviously I'm being dramatic, just for the fun of it, but at the same time, like, still, like, you made me feel certain emotions, and really like did a good job conveying like whatever thoughts you had about Caleb and Philip, and really projecting them into this unique medium with, once again, this incredible album. I imagine the hardest part was not even like the animation aspect, but it was probably like the collaboration aspect. Really, like, obviously it was a lot. I imagine it's a lot of fun, but like still, like, how much of a process was it for you to really work with these different collaborators and really bring forth that vision in the musical realm, aside from you what you're doing in the visual realm?
Okay, so there's only like three songs where I didn't write the lyrics. It was Where Is Home, The Titan's Will, and uh what was the other one again? And Distance.
Okay.
And so, because originally when I started, I wasn't really sure if like it would be easier for me to write lyrics first and people compose around them or not. So the first like couple songs, so I let people kind of do it. So I would get in calls with them or like write them and explain exactly what I needed the song to be about, and going from point A to point B, and like some ideas of like I wanted to be referenced in it. And so I explained it to them that way. And then I would send them some references of songs that like had some similar instruments and stuff, and I would be like, oh, I'd like to be this kind of vibe. Um, and then I wrote the lyrics for all the other ones,
Mm-hmm.
and I would same thing really. I would just get in calls with them, and then they would send me a work in progress with like a first track and lyrics, and it would be like, oh, maybe like the vibe needs to be more like more sad or like less sad or like especially curse at first. That was
Okay.
such a struggle because the first um like track that we had, I the inspiration was a bit of the Sweeney Todd musical, like how
Yes.
like, you know, and at first it sounded too sad.
Okay.
Like it just I wanted more anger, more like angst and more bitterness to it. And it was more too it was just too sad and slow at the beginning and I was just like, no, I need more horror.
Yep. Yep. You need that pure unbridled rage, especially when you were talking about Sweeney Todd being an inspiration for that or whatnot. Like with their songs, yeah, there was some sad songs, but you could tell there was just an underlying, just unhinged when it comes to Sweeney and how he was singing his feelings or whatnot.
Yeah, there was something that like I made it very like clear all the time. It was that I didn't want Philip to be over emotional because it was a
Mm-hmm.
thing in the show that I heard somebody tell me that like Dana was giving notes and storyboards where we had to tone down his emotions
Oh, okay.
to like some of the storyboard artists. So I was keeping that in the back of my mind all the time where if something felt too emotional, I would be like, you need to tone it down or like there were some lyrics where people wanted to add stuff like crying and I was like, no, don't, you need to remove that. um I just like I think there's like a good like balance between it because obviously Left Behind is very sad,
Right.
but it's also eh, you know what I mean. It's really hard to like put into words,
Yeah.
but there's a difference between that and like just I think he like internalizes a lot of emotions, so it was like kind of like finding a balance between that and um so like in the portrait that we have where we see his reflection in the knife with
Mm-hmm.
Caleb and he looks pretty much blank faced. That one was a really hard one to like fit into the animation because it was like that expression kind of caught me off guard a little bit because sometimes then when in King's Tide, when we see him reliving that memory, he seems like really distraught by it. So I felt like I needed to have like some kind of scene in between to like connect that portrait to the other one. That's kind of why I animated that part.
Right.
And then there was a scene in Elsewhere and Elsewhere where he seemed really like happy when he was speaking to Luce, and then he turns back and you see his face drop to that expression. I don't know if you remember that scene specifically, but he
I.
said something like, "Oh, you must be picking up after your aunt" or something like that. And he's all smiling, and then he turns around and his face is really like dark, and
Mm-hmm.
when he's not looking at Luce and Lilith. And so I kind of wanted to do something similar where his face would be at first like in shock at what happened, and then immediately he like because Evelyn was nearby and all of that during that fight, so immediately kind of snapped back into that I have to get things done kind of mindset,
Right.
and I will deal with my emotions later type of thing.
Yep.
So I had the expression switch, and yeah.
And this was totally and absolutely a very healthy way to deal with your emotions.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Man, if only therapy was around in the 1600s, a lot of this could have been avoided.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh goodness, I it does leave me curious as well because obviously you have so much like amazing like moments, amazing songs, amazing people to like, collab with or whatnot. I'm curious. I wouldn't say even favorite at this point, but do you have a personal like proudest moment of the entire album that you could think of, like one moment or one song or one animation that you could look back on and be like, this is like peak for me, the fact that I was able to get this part done.
Well, that's really difficult because there are like 20 songs, and obviously, like everybody on the album has done a really good job
Oh
with,
yeah.
I really don't know, honestly. Like, I guess like I'm quite happy with the animations that I've done for like the little animated sequence at the beginning of Left Behind, because that one is also a scene that's gonna be in the in the next animation than in all these walk cycles.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was never able to animate a walk successfully before, like ever.
Oh wow.
And and so I spend hours and hours just studying walks and just like making them. I cannot even tell you how many hours I've spent into that sequence. And it's
Goodness.
funny because every time I would finish one, I would try to just like challenge myself a little more with the next one.
Okay.
And then so like the one with the lantern like was like so difficult because there was so much that went into it with like the little perspective and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just the last one I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna animate a horse just because
Fuck it, we're doing a horse.
I felt like at this point, I had suffered so much through all the other ones, but I was just like, you know what, I might as well just like so I'm like, I know they're not perfect, obviously, because I was still very much learning, but I'm still quite proud of the fact that I managed to actually get it done.
I mean, you should be
Um,
quite proud at the end of the day. Like the fact that you're able to get literally over an hour's worth of a musical of basically a mini musical with many like visuals and animations and stuff like that's not an easy task to do in the first place. Like I don't see any I rarely see anyone dropping a literal like hours worth of like a musical out into the world. I think the closest thing I see to that these days is like the epic musical that's been going around like TikTok or whatnot.
yeah.
The fact that they're gradually, slowly but surely, like getting the musical out there and like presenting these songs to the people or whatnot. Like the fact that you just dropped this bad boy in one go and got so many people to help you out with it and really bring this thing to life, like it's really impressive. Like I know I've personally gushed to you before, but like especially for the people at home that are watching this or whatnot, like seriously, if you have not taken the opportunity to watch this, it's going to be the first link I put in like Magpie's links in the description below. Please go
Oh,
watch
thank
it.
you.
There are so many incredible moments. I've already talked about like some of my personal favorite songs. I loved the I can be your friend whenever Philip meets up with the collector for the first time or whatnot. Like that was a fun like chaotic little mini song right there. Murder or whatnot, like the intensity of that like you talked about, like for people that may not like musicals or whatnot, introducing the different elements, having basically just a hardcore rock song right there in that moment was the perfect moment for me. Like I absolutely love, and I'm gonna say this right now, my personal favorite song right off the bat is just Daydreaming with Ash Bricky, because I cannot tell you how much I have loved. I've grown to love Ash's music more and more ever since the chance that I've gotten to ever since I've had her on the podcast previously. Um, but especially like now listening to that song or whatnot, and given that has got to be my favorite of hers, if not the absolute favorite, at least top three, because I cannot get enough of her music, and especially hearing it in this context, like for this or whatnot, it's fantastic. I cannot get enough of it.
It's really funny that you say that when you just said that you hate Caleb, and this is like the one Caleb song that's like fully about Caleb.
I mean, look, it's one thing. Look, I can hate the person, but I love the art. Okay, like, but especially like because it's Ash. All right, like let's be honest with ourselves. Ash
Yeah.
is really talented, and if people are not listening to her music right now, they need to sincerely. Goodness.
Um,
Um.
there are like I'm trying to think of like moments that I quite like. I really like Cover Up in the sense that my inspiration for it was the mob song from Beauty and the Beast, and I think it's gonna
Uh.
be really obvious once you like hear it. Um, but I just love this kind of musical, and I had a very like specific idea for it, and I just like gave that song as a reference to Stefan, and then he just like sent me that finished like song, and I was just like, that is fantastic. Like
There you
I had
go.
written some lyrics for it, and he managed to fit everything in it just like in a fantastic way. Um, then I think Rainwalkers is like the one I'm really proud of for like lyrics wise the most, because there were so many complex like thoughts and feelings that went into, like, like that whole thing. Um,
Absolutely.
I think The Door is one that I really like for. I think that Ryan's singing voice is what probably is the closest to what Philip's singing voice would be.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and there was a line that I was kind of like, so we were trying to fit a line in the lyrics, and I was speaking with Tom Shock in there, for that song, And so I had like written lyrics, and then he kind of like edited some of them to fit like the melody of the song better. Because obviously when you write and you compose after, you need to fit everything into a certain like melody and all of that.
Right.
So sometimes some words are being changed and all of that. And there was something that I was really like, we had like a conversation about that one line for like probably an hour, maybe not an hour, but like quite a long time, where I was trying to explain, because Tom was wanted to like have a line about how Philip wanted uh the to be loved also by the villagers. That's kind of like and he really like, I tried to explain to him that I think he kind of already knows that he's not going to be accepted by them.
Right.
And I was trying to make the song so it wouldn't be so much like too um
Too obvious or
it's more like I wanted to what I was trying to explain is that he wants to be loved in a hero sort of way, because he
mm,
knows that they wouldn't love him for his personality. Like he knows that they've already kind of like bullied him and like shunned him away and all of
right.
that. And so I kept explaining to him no, because like he doesn't want their love anymore because he knows that he's not gonna have that. And then it was like a whole debate because like it was such a difficult concept to explain, because he was telling me, but like if he wants to be their hero, then he wants to be loved by them. And I said that's different though, because you can see, let's say somebody do some kind of like heroic act, and you can be like, oh, that's, I love this person because they did that, but you don't know them personally.
Right.
So I felt like he kind of gave up on being accepted as like who he really was, like because he enjoys like drawing, because he enjoyed like because he was left-handed, because maybe he had like some quirks like that the villagers would like make fun of, and all these things, because creativity wasn't really encouraged back then either.
Mm-hmm.
So there were all these things, and but he knows that the villagers would always hate, and but then if he was seen by your hero as a hero by them, then they would kind of like love him in a different way. So they would love the hero but not the person, and that's kind of what I was trying to convey.
Right.
And then he came up with the line, "If I can't have your love, I will be their hero," and that's my absolute favorite line in the song now.
It's very like it took that entire emotion into one line. It was executed so perfectly and such. Like that was also a good moment. I also thought of two more things I absolutely love right off the bat. First off, like when it comes to the visual aspect, the visuals and the animation and such that you had, especially for Curse, like that one alone, the visuals for it are absolutely stunning. I cannot get
Thank
enough
you.
of that one. And also I gotta shout out our good friend Wiley Coyote with the vocals that he was able to deliver for Mask of Gold. Like that, it gave me chills listening to that song last, especially with how Wiley delivered it. More than anything else, like
He is really good.
he's fantastic. Like all in all, like sincerely, I've said this before, but people at home, if you have not taken the chance to listen to this, please do. This is a phenomenal album that obviously, as you've been hearing from this podcast so far, has a lot of love gone into it and a lot of care more than anything else. It does also leave me kind of curious as well, Magpie. Like now that this is actually out there and you've been able to provide this incredible thing, like is there anything else you want to do with the album in particular? Is there any way you want to potentially expand on it? Could we potentially be getting the Wittebane like full musical at some point within some point in the future?
I don't, you know what, I don't know. Because I feel like the album is there also because I wanted to have the whole story out there
Mm-hmm.
while some people were still in the fandom, I guess,
Right.
Because the animations are gonna take so long to animate, obviously, that like by the time I get to like the time of the show, it would be like years from now.
Right.
So I wanted to have something that would be quicker to make, I guess, that would like go over everything so people know what to expect as the animations keep being made. So the album was very much meant to be a one-off
Okay.
and like to be something that people could use in the community to make their own stuff as well. Um, and like they could listen to it and like connect to the characters more and get excited for more of the animations.
I
And
think.
just to pick up on what you were saying about like curse as well, I kind of with that one I really like this one as well because the when Philip turns into like the curse in the show,
Yeah.
it's usually from an outsider's perspective and it goes really quickly.
Right.
But like I wanted my idea with that song was I wanted people to experience what it's like for him to turn into that thing.
That
And
that's that
so
same anguish that he probably feels inside, like trying to reject
yeah,
this demonic being that is taking over.
yeah, and so I wanted to go like deeper into the visuals as well. Like if it was in Hollow Mind when we see the curse with all the talisman that were
Hmm.
like glued together. It was kind of like unclear if that was what happens every time he turns, or if it was like I'm not sure if it was like a budget thing because we see that in Hollow Mind and then we don't see it anymore.
Hmm.
And I wasn't sure if it was a budget issue and it's supposed to kind of be implied that it's that all the time, or if it was a one-off. So I kind of wanted to bring it back and leave it up to interpretation if he feels like the talisman are like tearing at him, or if it's just like something that's actually happening. Um, but that's kind of like how you would feel it, I think, because he mentions in Hollow Mine how they're always, nagging at him and all of that. So I wanted to have these like swarms of talisman, kind of like bees almost, or that are like always there, like buzzing, and like he can hear them and stuff. And yeah, I kind of wanted to just go into that more.
I mean, I think you did a really good job illustrating, again, like you said, like kind of the internal struggle when it comes to dealing with this. Again, what he probably assumes is like a demonic, what is legitimate, more or less like a demonic being or demonic beast, like taking over him and just like
Yeah.
consuming what little humanity he had or what humanity he's grasping onto. Like it's I could go on for hours just gushing about this project more and more and more, like legitimately.
Oh, thank
Like
you.
I genuinely think you did a phenomenal job with it, and I can only imagine, especially with the reception that you've gotten from it so far, seeing how many people are already jumping on board, loving this animation. And this album, it's gotta be insane to think, like, now that this is actually out there, the people that are already jumping on board and loving it, like, it's gotta be really cool to see that love and support for a character that you like care about and want to see more of and want to expand more. It's got to be really cool to have that support.
It makes me so happy because there's like what makes me feel like gives me that satisfying feelings the most is that to see that like like everyone was seeing him like more like a black and white like character outside of the Wittebane fandom specifically,
Mm-hmm.
and to see like him getting so much negativity, I guess, and then seeing all the positive reception on the album makes me so happy because I it was like I really wanted to keep the characters the way he was. So like I didn't want to like, like erase all the stuff that is done in the show or anything like that. But
Right.
I wanted to just provide context for it. And so it makes me so happy that like people can appreciate that and just like appreciate his character more even if they don't like obviously like endorse the stuff that he's done in the show and like but I feel like it's just like there was kind of like it made me so happy to see that more people could appreciate the character the same way I do if they were provided all the context, I guess.
I mean, it makes sense, honestly, like that the context that you at least have in seeing the amount of people that now understand at least your point of view, at least see where you're coming from, and honestly see
Yeah, I
from.
wanted people to see what I see in him so badly, and I feel like I've kind of like managed to do it now.
I think you've done a good job of that, and then some. I think a lot of people are definitely gonna be seeing the way you see, you see Philip and Caleb, and that little, that little aspect of this incredible story that is Owl House already. Like it's got to be it's insane to think how far you have been able to come in as an artist and been able to develop with this kind of stuff. Like, thinking back, just in general, like thinking back to when you started out off, like just falling in love with the Disney villains and wanting to expand more on those stories, to here you are right now, like doing that so elegantly and doing such a fantastic job. Like, thinking to your art journey as a whole, does it more or less surprise you how far you have been able to develop as an artist?
I don't know, like I keep thinking like I'm not doing enough. Like it's really bizarre. Like
Mm.
even when I look back on the album, I'm always like, oh, but like I wish I could have animated everything. Like I hope no one's like upset that it's all images and stuff.
I don't know why.
Like,
I don't know why people would be upset given how much you've already put into this project.
I know. I think it's because like people who aren't artists sometimes like have a hard time like realizing how much like time actually it takes to do
Right,
stuff like this.
right.
So, and because I've mostly done like fan animations to this point, I was like so terrified that people would see like mostly images and like be upset, I guess.
Right, right. I mean, but still, regardless, I think you've done plenty and then some. I can understand the mentality of like, did I do enough? But like, seriously, like, again, I could go on another like, I can go on another like 12 hours just being like, this is why this is amazing. This is why your animation stuff is amazing. But then again, we'd be here all night for God's sakes. It does, however, lead me to the next question that I have, if I may, because Magpie, for this scenario, I want to give you the dream scenario, if I may. Let's say I am Big Shot Mr. Moneybags. I come to him like, look, Magpie, we know that there is a gold mine of talent right here. We're talking about you in particular. Like, just seeing what you've been able to produce so far, both in animation, especially with this album that you got put out. Like, we know there's some incredible stuff here. You just need an extra push, a little extra platform to get you to that next level more than anything else. We have access to everyone and anyone in whatever industry possible, and more money that should be possible. You really should be compensating the animators, make sure they can have like a decent place to stay and health insurance, all that kind of stuff. Hashtag stand with animation. But right now, we are focusing on you and you alone. We'll take care of the animators later, we promise. We're just focusing on you right now. If given this opportunity, what would be the dream Magpie project?
I would want to make an entire season about the Wittebane story.
Okay. Like a more or less like a spin-off, esque series or whatnot.
I would want to be able to go over everything
Okay.
because obviously like even with like the album it's just impossible to go over
Obviously.
everything. There's just so many things that like I would want to like add to it that just like details like just feeling that scenes act out as like actual scenes, and not like summaries, I guess, of things that happen.
Right.
um I feel like, even like a movie, if it was maybe like 2 hours or something, it would be kind of
Ooh.
like doable probably to at least go over more of what's happened. Um, like I guess like a season would probably be the best, but yeah,
I
you
mean,
know, I
I
I don't know
mean,
how it would work because like Disney also has the rights to it. Like I don't think Dana is like with Disney anymore, so I'm not sure exactly how it works. But like it would have to be Disney either way who would like have to
yeah.
greenlight that.
Well, I mean, I know Dana isn't with Disney right now because obviously they're collaborating with Glitch to work on their new
Yeah.
2D animation Knights of Guinevere or whatnot, which looks absolutely amazing. Like, it would be a dream to be working on that project as well, like, because it looks really, just from the little teaser alone, it looks really cool.
It does look really good.
Um, but also, that's why I said we have access to, in this dream scenario, we have access to everyone and anyone. So yeah, we'll call up Disney and we'll straight up be like, hey, we're gonna make this series. You're gonna bring Dana back, work with Magpie, bring this thing to reality. Let's go. Like, there's no discussion, there's no negotiation. Like, this thing is being made. All right, this is the dream. All right.
I mean, I guess I don't know. I feel like there's only like a 1% chance of something like that happening generally because like it's I don't know if Disney would go for something this dark. Um, I guess there's a lot of unknowns right now because they seem to be done with the live actions.
Yeah.
So I'm not
Oh, to
sure if
God, we
that's
are.
yeah. So I don't know if you're gonna have to bring something else to like make up for that and there are just so many, I don't know, honestly. Like, I heard that the Tangle series were pitched by friends to Disney, so I'm not sure how much truth there is to that. I guess, like, the only way that would happen would probably be if, like, Dana spoke to Disney, because, like, you can't just, like, pitch to them. You need to have somebody on the inside who's, like,
Right.
asking for you, I guess. So it's kind of the only way it would happen if.
I mean, I guess if again, like in the dream scenario, obviously, like there'd be no question. But to bring this thing to reality, like we're only left to be seen. I mean, push come to shove, if they consider it too dark, they could just push it on to Hulu or whatnot. Like they push most of the not so friendly, family friendly stuff when it comes to streaming and such. Um,
I feel like PG-13 would probably, like, work.
oh yeah, no,
Like, you could
absolutely.
I don't think like the gore is necessarily like something like there's like a very limited amount of it that I put. It's more like the religious themes that I'm not sure how like Disney would feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, it's not like with what you had presented. It's not like it was like ultra gory or anything like that. Like
No.
the most we saw was like what the murder and like maybe obviously seeing skeletons and stuff, but there wasn't like a whole lot of like blood splattered all over like Philip's face or anything
No.
like that. Um,
I think Curse was probably the most graphic out of all of them, but
yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. But sadly, we gotta get down from the dream scenario. We gotta get back to reality, and I'll ask the ever so generic question: where do you hope to see yourself in, say, 5 to 10 years from now?
hopefully having a couple more animations out.
There you go. That's a good place to start.
I mean, I'm not even gonna say all of them because there are so many portraits, but like even in 5 years, I don't know if I would have time to animate all of them by then. Like, I
Right.
mean, I know that it's probably like never gonna happen, but Disney would like, let me do anything officially. So I still
Ooh.
plan to like continue to make these like animations. It's just like even if there's not that many people who still care in like that many years, I'll still make them, but people who do still care.
I there was a guest I brought on a while ago by the name of Trevor Fraley. Um, they're a comic artist. He actually got to work on like a comic that Disney officially like released or whatnot called Disney Villains that explored more of Scar's backstory. So maybe if Disney like allowed you to have like some sort of aspect like that, like maybe not full on animation, but maybe like a comic that gets published and released into the world with like a couple of volumes to go with it, exploring the Wittebane backstory a little bit more. That'd be really cool.
That'd be really cool. Yeah, I think like animation is what I would definitely want to go with because
Of
like with
course.
comics, the thing is that comics are nice. The thing is that like a lot of people don't want to have time take time to read, and it just doesn't get around as much. So
Right. Right. I'm just saying, if there was a capacity, there is a way. There is more than one way to
for sure,
get the Wittebane story out there to the world. Um, as we start to
I'm
wind.
I'm
Oh, sorry. Go on.
I'm kind of I'm kind of like not sure about like trying to reach out to Disney because like they're already like not really saying anything about the
Right.
stuff that I'm making, and I don't want them to like be like you need to stop making them.
I mean, if they haven't stopped
So
you at this point, why poke the bear? You know.
I know, but like I don't want to like poke them too much. Like especially I'd rather just like they leave me be rather than like
Yeah.
risk like losing that. Yes.
Like I said, yeah, at this point, if they haven't come at you yet, if they haven't said anything at this point, why poke the bear and potentially risk that? So I get it. I understand where you're coming from. Um, as we start to wind down the interview, I just have one last question I want to ask you. Obviously, like you are deeply entrenched in art in one form or fashion. Like I said before, when you were having your own little ideas of expanding the story of Disney villains, to here you are right now, dedicating so much time and effort to expand on a truly incredible story. How important is art, not just for you, but for the world as a whole?
I think it's very important because I mean, especially with everything that's happening right now,
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty depressing to like open your feed and see all these like horrible stuff happening, and I feel like we need distractions more than anything right now. Um, just yeah, I try my like I try my best to not really like share any of that stuff on my feed. It's not that I don't
Right.
care, obviously. It's more like I'm trying to make my social media more like a place that's just art,
Yeah.
so people can come here for distractions and yeah, I think art in any sort of way is just like good for people for themselves draw and escape, and then for other people to see and have other more positive things to just get excited about.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm kind of the same way with my like blue sky feed or whatnot. It's like I there's I like to promote that the positivity more than anything else because there's a lot of negativity out there
Yeah.
as is, and like I'm here just to provide like a good fun time, maybe even a little bit of an escape for however much time an interview lasts or whatnot, to hopefully inspire other artists to be like, hey, there's this cool person doing this thing, like check them out, look at what they're doing, and maybe it can inspire them. So yeah. But I think that is wonderfully worded, if I do say so myself. Um, Magpie, that is all the questions I have for you. I've already showered you with Lord knows how much praise, but I'm gonna shower you with a little bit more because it's my podcast. I do what I want. Um,
Thank you.
like I had said from the start, it's been really good to see how much you have been able to develop as an artist. Seeing, from when we first got a chance to meet years ago to here you are right now, really pushing out incredible stuff, like phenomenal, love, like works of love and passion really put on full display. And that's the thing I truly cannot tell you how much I love and appreciate the fact that there is so much of you that I am seeing with just everything you're putting out there these days. And it's so good the fact that you're able to really feel comfortable and express yourself like that, and really like not only put out something that you feel passionate about, but something that others can instantly latch onto and love and feel passionate about as well. Like, not only with like the stuff that we had talked about, the stuff that you've been able to do in the past, but like especially with what you're doing nowadays with really expanding this story and getting so many incredible people involved to really provide a really incredible opportunity in one form or fashion. Like I am forever always going to be amazed with the more that you're going to be able to do, and I cannot tell you how much I cannot tell you how much I love and appreciate what you've been able to put out there and how much you've been able to grow, not just as an artist, but as a person. I'm really happy to see you survive and thrive through a lot of chaos in this world more than anything else. And I'm excited for whatever's going to be happening next, whether it's more music stuff, more Wittebane animation, or more opportunities in the animation field in general, because I think whether it's opportunities you provide or opportunities that you have earned, I think you're going to do a phenomenal job each and every single time, and I cannot wait. Thank you for what you do, Magpie. Thank you for putting yourself out there, and please, please, please keep up the incredible work.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, of course. I mean, heck, I still remember. Well, I forgot to mention this a little sooner or whatnot. I knew that I still had a good place on this podcast for you because I was looking through your portfolio and such, like preparing for questions and what I wanted to ask or whatnot. And I noticed in your portfolio there was a very particular thumbnail that you did that I had totally forgotten that you had done or whatnot. And that was whenever I brought Joe Horn, the director of Class of 3000, on, and you did me and my friends in the Class of 3000 style. And I remember that, and I just it makes me feel happy to get you on this podcast and to showcase the incredible artist that you are. So I'm glad I got the opportunity to do this, and I like I said before, I cannot wait to see what's next.
Well, thank you so much, and I hope your podcast, keeps you keep getting guests and all of that as well, and it grows and.
Well, I we'll have a thank you all day, thank you fight all day long, but I appreciate it. Now, if people want to know why exactly I have been gushing about this incredible album and these incredible animations, all this incredible stuff, take a shot every time I say incredible, I swear to God. But if you want to see more of what exactly I'm talking about, go ahead and plug your stuff for the people at home, Magpie. Where can people see more about you?
On YouTube is where the album is. My YouTube is Magpie and Grace. I think. Let me double check. Yeah, okay. Magpie and Gracefield. I've got a Blue Sky that is. What is my Blue Sky again?
I believe it's Gracefield Magpie or something like that.
Yeah, Gracefield Magpie. Mm-hmm. Then I've got Instagram, which is Magpie the Raven, and the album is also on Spotify. Yep. So the playlist is linked in the YouTube description. So, because I'm not sure how else to do it really. So you can probably link to it as well, but the playlist isn't there.
And I'll be sure to have a link to all that stuff, especially that album, either on YouTube or Spotify. Those are the first two links you're going to see in the description below. I'm also going to obviously make sure to link all those socials, and especially your Etsy shop, because by God, the merch you've been able to provide of Philip Wittebane is absolutely phenomenal. And I need people, they got a hint of it with the video earlier with some of the plushies that you had provided, but like they need to see more of the incredible merch you're putting out there.
Oh, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Do you have any final words before we sign off?
I don't know.
You know what? Genuinely, if you don't have anything that comes to mind, I'm tempted to just literally cut it right after you just say, I don't know. Like, have that be the literal, and like, I don't know, outro song.
Wait, let me think. I need to come up with something.
Okay.
I don't know.
It's okay, Magpie. Take your time.
What, I don't know. What could I say about the animation? About the, okay. Just wanted to thank everybody who's been watching my content and, you know, leaving positive comments, and everyone who maybe like didn't really care so much about the character and like got invested in him more because of my content. That makes me very happy. And just, yeah, thank you to everyone who's shared and watched my content, and that's pretty much it.
There you go. I think that is wonderful words to end on. And with that, all I have left to say is for the people at home, if you can, please pay your artists.
Tell me what's wrong, tell me it's parts in motion. Sing me a song, tell me your eyes can all open. Show me it all, pick me up in the car you drove when you used to call. Show me it all.
Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. If this is your first time listening, I cannot tell you how much it means to me that you stuck around to this point. Like I kind of said in the intro, Magpie is someone that I have just been lucky to even know, let alone consider a friend like years ago. And to get a chance to get him on this podcast to talk about just the talented work that he has. I mean, look, Magpie, if you've gotten up to this point, thank you. Thank you for taking time to do this, and thank you for keeping up the incredible work that you do. And I also want to say thank you to the people that showed a lot of love and support for the past couple episodes that I've been able to present recently, and also to the Posty Awards that I posted. Seriously, if you haven't had a chance to check that out, please do. There's a lot of love that went into that video, as well as a lot of support, and it genuinely would mean the world if you hadn't had a chance to. Please go check it out. Or if you have checked it out, play it again, watch it again. It's a fun time. It's a fun video. It just shows, furthermore, how incredible this community can be. Like, genuinely, like, getting the amount of people that helped me out with that Posty Award, and also seeing the amount of people that took the time to watch that video, and obviously, you know, just the community we've already built up as a whole, and the incredible people I've gotten to meet so far. Like, it genuinely blows my mind still that we're able to do stuff like this. It blows my mind that we're able to do stuff like, you know, go to conventions and say that I'm going to be there, and hopefully people can, meet up with me and say hi and how's it going, which I'll just go ahead and say, if you're watching this the weekend that it releases, I'm going to be at MomoCon 2025. Not as a guest or anything like that, just, as a casual convention goer. I hope to see you guys there. You know, I love meeting up with people, and I love meeting up with people that are fans of the show and fans of what we're doing here. So, don't be afraid to say hi. I'll put it like that. Like, I hope to see you there, because MomoCon was so much fun last year, and I know it's gonna be a lot of fun this year. I also know that's gonna be just a lot of good times going forward, even way past that convention. I've got some incredible videos and some incredible interviews lined up for you guys that I know you guys are gonna absolutely enjoy. So, I guess just keep on watching, keep showing that love and support. Let's keep growing this community more and more, and showcase some more of these incredible artists.